What's up, Drop Pod listeners? You can check out new episodes of the Drop Podcast every Tuesday and Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find all of our content on YouTube at the Drop Golf Podcast and on our socials. That's Instagram and Twitter at the Drop_pod. No matter how you consume us, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. Follow and listen along.
This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Moro. This is Ryan Coulott.
What's up, Drop Pod people? Welcome to our interview episode this week. You are in for a real treat. Mike and I were able to sit down with Jacob Hoffer, who is the general manager at Union League National, on the ground floor to check out and be a part of and help build and do everything Union League National. He was part of the team that helped buy it, help rebuild it, all that stuff. Mike and I were fortunate enough to get out or get down there, play with Jacob, pick his brain about all the things with the golf course, and then sit down with him. And you're about to listen to our interview that we had with Jacob. We sat down for maybe 45 minutes or so, and it was a very educational, informative look at the golf course. Again, from someone who worked with Dana Fry hand in hand to help build this and create what they've done down there. So I don't know, other than getting Dana on, you're not getting anyone better to talk about the golf course. So we had an absolute blast with Jacob. Jacob, thank you for having us and spending time with us. It really was awesome. Good luck to everyone playing in the field next week. You want to add anything or no?
No, there's nothing to add. I mean, you nailed it.
Okay.
I mean, in theory, I probably don't even need to be on that.
Well, there we go then. That's going to be it. Here's our interview with Jacob Hoffer, General Manager, Union League National. Cheers.
George Wall Ford in Red Bank, New Jersey is family owned and operated, proudly serving New Jersey residents with superior customer service since 1960. Rye, share your story about your experience there.
Mike, I went on a tangent in one of our episodes previously about it, but I can't say enough good things about George Wall Ford. I needed a new car. I had an old. I loved the brand that I had. I loved, it was an SUV, but had 165,000 miles on it. It was just time, So I hopped on over to George Wall Ford. I saw our guy Jerry, and Jerry and his team were awesome. I mean, from stem to stern, they're there, they're helping, they're knowledgeable. They have so many cars on the lot that you can go in and say, hey, I want a sunroof, a navigation. I want this kind of rims on it. I want this kind of this, that, and the other thing. There's a great chance that they have that car with all your specs, the color, all that thing. Me, I didn't particularly care. I just I was like, hey, I want to be high up in the car, right? I need an SUV. I'm a big guy. I got a dog. I got golf clubs. I got beach chairs in the summer. I need something that's a little more rugged, a little more. Again, I like to be higher in my car. And I went and saw Jerry. He pointed me in the right direction. And again, it's awesome to have that kind of help and support from your salesman to the finance guy to even they got somebody who helps you set up your car, right? I got an app on my phone now that's got my auto start on it. I can locate my car if I don't know where it is. I could take a trip to Japan if I wanted to and be like, did I lock my car? And I can go into the app and lock my car. So even people helping you set up that stuff, just the hands-on approach over there is incredible. So if you need a car, head on over to George Wall. And go ask for Jerry. They were awesome there. Again, stem to stern from everybody. I can't say enough good things about it. It was an unbelievable experience.
So to Ryan's point, there isn't a better place to shop for a brand new car. Just call 732-704-1932 and ask for Jeremy Wall. George Wall Ford in Red Bank for all your car buying needs.
All right, so boy, oh boy, do we have ourselves a little bit of a treat here today. Kind of mirroring what we did for the NJSGA's first major at Hollywood Golf Club. We had the fortunate opportunity, as you can see here today, sitting with the general manager of Union League National Golf Club, Jacob Hoffer, Jacob, thank you so much for having us here today.
Yeah, thrilled to have you guys. Thanks for coming down.
Yeah,
It's a real treat.
Yeah, this place, I think everybody that's coming down here next week is in for something. I think when you walk on the grounds and you see what this place has become, I think it's truly remarkable. So, kind of, why don't we start there? You give us a little bit of a background about what this place is to maybe what it was, and kind of the outlook here.
So, of course, we start with the Union League of Philadelphia getting into golf almost 10 years ago now. We purchased the Torresdale Frankfurt Country Club back in 2014. And they also thought there was an opportunity to have golf at the shore, at the shore points for their members who own homes down here. So through that process, we looked at several different golf courses and had the fortunate opportunity to buy what was the Sand Barrens Golf Club. And we were able to purchase that in fall of 2017. And we got into a massive renovation starting in spring of 2018. It started as almost like a little cleanup project. We were going to, touch up the edges and put a little lipstick on this place. And what ended up happening was the membership push and the excitement around what was going to happen here kind of drove us to make some different decisions and invest a little bit more CapEx into what the golf course could be. So we had the opportunity to take Sand Barrens to be a good golf course and a good place to play for our members. And we were able to turn it into something that was elite. We partnered with Dana Fry and Jason Strega for Fry Strega Global Golf Design. And they brought in some really talented folks to help us do the renovation. 4 years later, 1.4 million cubic yards of earth moved later, we have what you see.
And you can so see it out there that it's not a lot of hills in this area of New Jersey, and then you go out there and there's the highest point in Cape May County. It's just there's some more than mountains out there.
Yeah. So Dana, when we first started working, I always tell the story of how it kind of evolved into this big project where it was this big earth moving opportunity. And we were working in the left side of Meade between 9 Morant and 1 Meade. There's this maze bunker that runs between the two of them. And we were just kind of picking at it with the shaper and with the excavator. And we were piling up some dirt. We had this excess fill. And we said, we don't want to pay somebody to haul this off property, so just set it over there for now. And Dana came back on one of his visits a couple weeks later. He stood on top of the mound, and it was like a eureka moment where he saw he could do like what he did at Calusa Pines and create these landforms on a very flat site, create all this movement in this really unique property. So we've been very fortunate to see this through to the end.
Yeah, I mean, the ups and downs of this place, for being where we are is truly remarkable. But I think that speaks to how much was actually moved. I think being on the grounds here, I think it just has that word that you've seen all the pictures from Evan Schiller, and you're like, man, I can't wait to step foot on here. I think me being someone who's constantly on his phone as it is, like, every hole is so picturesque. I don't care if it's the Meade 9, the Sherman 9, the Grant 9, like, every one of them are so good.
Yeah. Somebody, I can't remember what publication it was, but somebody said there's 22 signature holes of 27.
Yeah.
And when I read that, I said, that's actually pretty accurate.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then, so obviously for the major itself, if you don't know, there's 3 nines. Okay, they are not playing the Meade 9. The tournament will go off on the Sherman course, which is the front 9, and the Grant 9 will be the back 9. Let's dive a little bit into the Sherman 9 itself here, because it'll be playing roughly 6,900 yards in total. But when you think about the Sherman course, and obviously Ryan and I just getting off it, what are some of the holes really for you, or what would you say is the outlook on Sherman compared to the other two, or what can a guy expect when they tee up there?
Sure. So when I look at Sherman, I think about the elite player on Sherman can go out and make a fair amount of birdies. I think the golf course, that particular 9 is really welcoming and receptive. Relatively wide fairways. It's not overly long. There are a couple areas, I always think about 7 Sherman, that par 3. That hole can sneak up and bite you. But a lot of those holes out there is some great opportunities to score well and make birdies and even eagles out there. So I always think like Sherman, if you could go out fast, 1 is a very welcoming hole. I think 2, depending on what they do with the pin location, 2 is a very birdieable hole. 3 is a little bit more challenging. I think 4 is very accepting of a good golf shot.
Yeah.
And 5 also. I think like if you can play those first 4 or 5 holes, make a birdie or 2, and then all you got to do is survive 7 Sherman, and you've got an opportunity to really put up a great starting 9.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, when we were out there playing, you could definitely see in terms of like a gettable, some gettable holes. Like those first 5 are it, which is kind of challenging for that tournament golfer that you're teeing off on your first hole and you got to really recognize like, hey, listen, this is the go zone right now. Like we've got to find a way to start hot here because it only gets harder. And I think as you go through the front 9, I do think, to your point, number 7 was the hole for me when I think about that front 9 that stood out more so than anything because, to your point, we're standing up on those tee boxes. I mean, it can be stretched as far back as almost 240-ish, as well as then it could be moved up to like 180.
We joked about hitting the driver not getting there.
Yeah, I mean, and then you got the Wooder in play on the side. So talk a little bit about 7. What would you, if a guy gets on 7's tee, he's 1 under through 6, he's feeling solid in his round. Talk a little bit about 7.
I think 7 you have a real decision to make, and you have to understand your golf game, right? So you have to understand where the flag is, because what you don't see from the tee box is that you have water that wraps the entire way around. It's almost like a peninsula green, where most people don't realize that the water comes in on the left as well. It's very prevalent on the right. And what happens is say, for example, today's the flag was in the back portion of the green, right? Well, if you take enough club to get all the way back to that flag on the fly, well, you're risking challenging bringing the water in on the left, right? The water on the right is in your face. You can see.
Yeah.
But the water on the left can sneak up on you. So what I typically tell people to do on that hole is play to the front third of the green, yardage-wise, and then grind over making a 2-putt and escape with 3.
Yeah, and I think what you had mentioned to me out there was super important. I think, if you are listening and you're going to get out there, that tree on the left-hand side is a great target because I think, a lot of us had that mindset that I'm going to make a birdie, I'm going to attack this pin, I'm going to just figure it out. But that tree is a great little aim point for them.
I call it like the defensive tree, right? So you kind of look at that tree, it's about 10 yards short and left of the green. And if you can use that as kind of your window of, okay, the tree yardage to the front edge of the green, anything you hit up there is going to be safe. And you're going to have an opportunity to pitch it up and in for it.
And I think as you go through the rest of those last few holes, I think 9, when you get on 9's tee box there, that is another hole when you just like look out from afar, you're like, all right, this is so good. And I thought the one thing that, I learned it the hard way, but that bunker that's about 40 yards, 30 yards short of the green, like I honestly thought I hit a great little knock shot out there. I'm going to knock it in the bunker. Like that bunker, you want to talk about like strategically placed. I didn't even know I could get there, frankly. I didn't even know it was there, but the ball finds it. Like that is such a good hole because I think when you look at your ending your 9, you've got a par 5. It's kind of gettable. I think I can get there, but then that bunker comes in the way.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the hotter topics around here sometimes. It's like, okay, what do you talk about at Union League National? You talk about the greens and the movement, and you talk about the center line bunkers, right? And you have to, there's several times during the round that you have to make a decision, and you have to play the hole backwards to decide whether you're going to try to go over one of those center line bunkers that guards the approach, or if you're going to lay short of it and just hit a longer iron in. And there's multiple locations on the golf course where you kind of have to go from the green backwards and work a number out in your head. Where do I want to be? Or what shot selection should I make off the tee?
100%.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. And I will say this, guys, when you get on the 8th tee box, take out your phones. You won't, you'll thank me later for the type of picture you get from the 8th tee box. So that's another great hole. So I think that stretch, like 7, 8, 9 right there are like a very, very good stretch of wrapping up the Sherman 9.
Yeah, that was my favorite 3 holes on the Sherman were those 3 holes. And that stretch, even if I love the Sherman. It was fantastic. But even coming was that 4, 5, 6? Like,
Yeah,
even if you go
area.
up to 4, like it was excellent. Like that stretch of holes is as good a golf hole.
And I think 4 is a real opportunity to be unique in how they set it up, right? So do they use, there's the double green, do you use the left green, do you use the right green?
Yeah.
Right? That's all questions for the NJSGA.
Yeah. Because as we said, if you're in the right side going like a bunker, you're bringing 6 into play easily.
Yeah, so when you think about these two nines, there's definitely, I guess in some aspects you want to say one is hard and one is easy. Like the Sherman 9 is a 9 you need to get off to a good start, because by the time you make that turn and you hit 10, like you better have your belt buckled tight, you better have your shoes laced, you better be like, all right, it's grind fest right now, because there is really not a hole when you start on 10 that's kind of like, in a sense, a gimme hole. Like even 10, for example, like you got to hit a good drive.
Yep.
So the bunkers again are strategically placed out there. That the grant is definitely the harder of the two sides. Talk a little bit about the grant side.
Yeah, so I always think that, for me, the grant is the most challenging of it. Again, there's a lot more length to grant. I also think there's a little bit more nuance to the greens. And I do think that when we start talking about grant, even with its length, like a lot of times when you have the shorter nines or the longer nines, usually the longer nines, like we're talking about grant, angles start to drop off a little bit, right? You're maybe not as prevalent of making sure you're on the correct side of the fairway. The problem is with grant, not only is it long, but you've got to be positioned correctly to be able to access certain points. And I think that's one of the challenges the players are going to have, is understanding angle, making sure that they get themselves to the right or left side of the fairway, depending on where the flag is. Where the flag is positioned, front or back, may determine what you hit off of the tee, just based on how much green you're going to have to work with.
100%. And I think going back to like what we talked about on the course is that green within the green that there is there. And if you might hit a great shot. Hey, I just want to hit the middle of the green here. Or I just want more room on the left side. So now you're on the left side and you played it safe. But now you have a 50, 60-foot putt over, up, around, through, over the river, through the woods to get home. And it's not an easy putt. You're just thinking like, let me get on in 2-putt. It's not an easy 2-putt.
Yeah, you have to capitalize on your opportunities out here. So when you get it into the right pocket, we always say that, you made mention of the greens within the green. Usually within our greens complexes, there's 4 or 5 little sections that kind of create their own little space where we can put the flag and we can kind of put it in its own little section. If you get it in the right section, you're going to get a great look. You're going to get a really good look at birdie. And if you don't get it in the right section, you're going to work for 4. You're going to work for that par.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, listen, I jokingly said I felt like I hit the ball really well, but man, I was at 5 or 6 3-putts. It felt like that. Every time I think I saw something, it went a different direction, or I just frankly was on the wrong tier. And I think that also goes to the point of knowing where the ball is going to land and the reaction of what that ball ends up doing. Because as much as we all, like you said multiple times out there, like it's not always what the number is to the pin. You might need to look at what's in front and land it short. Because I think that's a huge thing on that side.
Yeah, your players that play well in a week or two, if they play well, they're going to be accessing those hole locations not in a straight line. They're going to be able to indirectly access hole locations, and that's how they're going to make birdies.
Yeah, and as you start, that's the grant side. One, okay, maybe it's just kind of straight out there, kind of as you go. But like 2 is as much as you see a par 5, it's in the 525 range. You're like, all right, I can get there. It's a birdieable hole. It's really, unless you really poke one out that left side of the fairway there, it's a 3-shot hole. And again, to your point, like, you might want to think about playing it backwards to default, from the green back to the tee box, because everything is so strategically placed there. So
yeah, if you get yourself out of position, you can get into a worse position if you don't think your way out of it, right? Because you've got bunkers that stretch up the right and the left. You also have another example of one of those centerline bunkers that we spoke about 50 yards short of the green. You can't, a lot of times people get into these par 5s and they hit a driver and they mindlessly bang a 3-wood up there short of the green. You can't do that anymore. And again, it's really, where is that pin location, right? We talked about your shot. You had to be, we said, hey, make sure you get it to the left side of the fairway so you're looking down the neck of the green for the 3rd shot.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And that's a great It's a great par 5 because I think it makes you think a little bit. I think ultimately, it's not just get up, whack it, and I got a little picture for, no, I got to, poke and prod my way around here a little bit.
And to your point, knowing like where I just laid up and I was like, okay, this is a number I want to hit. I was well short, so now I have to fly almost all those bunkers, to your point, there's not a big landing zone in that green. But coming from where we had Mike going, he's got all the green to work with. And that's again, to the angles, to knowing the greens within the greens.
Those greens off of the bunkers, right? They have those slopes that come off of the bunker. So if you're coming over the bunker, that first bounce is going to scoot and skip. Whereas you were able to play yours into the flat part of the green and get a very straightforward bounce.
Yeah. Which leads to number 3 here on the grant side, which again I don't know how to describe that hole except so damn good. I mean, just from the tee box alone, I know there's a conversation you and I have about par 3s always being like 200. It's nice to throw a mixture in there, and this hole from the back tees can stretch maybe 135, 140 max, but you see that number, you're like, perfect wedge, easy. It's not like that at all. Talk a little bit about 3.
So par 3s. And coming from a guy who likes to, like I typically describe my own game as I'm more of the bomb and gouge type guy. So for me, like par 3s, I don't usually get butterflies over, but 3 grand makes my heart sing a little bit.
Yeah.
And what's really unique about it, right? So you have this mound turtleback green. You've got that classic pot bunker in the front. The trench bunker on the left is absolute death. Like, you just don't want to be in there.
No.
But the green then narrows as you get further back, which is really interesting. What most people overlook is the design of the tee box, though. And we didn't talk about it while we were out there. We're just kind of getting into it a little bit. Everybody focuses on the green and focuses on the bunkers and what's scary in front of them. But what you don't realize is you can change the way that the forward tees and the very back tees are not that different distance-wise. It's angle, right? Our very back tee sets far to the left, and you have to play over the trench bunker and over the pot bunker. The forward tees play far to the right. It's almost like a horseshoe. And you play right up the neck, right up the face of that green. So it's more about changing your angle. So I'm really interested to see what the NJ does with that, as far as like, okay, the yardage isn't going to change a lot tee to tee. It's all about angle, right? So if I move far left, you have to play over those bunkers, but then the green is running at an angle in front of you, so you only have so much depth to work from that left angle.
You really got to have good ball control.
Correct.
It's interesting. I don't think. Did you notice that, Mike?
No, I didn't. I'm trying to think when we were fortunate to come in the fall, we played that hole. I can't remember. I think the tee box probably was in the same spot.
It was generally where we were.
Yeah. But no, to your point, as I think about the hole, that's.
And then add in this. What's the wind doing?
Correct.
Because if it's really going left to right, and they put it on the far left there, you got to put it over the trench and still control it.
And that hole sits at the end of a long corridor of like long open space on 2, right? And then you have the trees that surround it. And what happens is you get that swirl. You get this mound that's where the tees are. So there's a mound next to the tee. You get the trees up by the green, and it creates that swirl effect. It's hard to read the wind in there. So not only are you hitting across those bunkers, if they push those tees all the way left, you're hitting across all the bunkers. And then also think about the swale in the green, right? That swale rolls off into the right side of that green. So you're hitting right at that swale. It's almost like a false back edge from that angle. So I'll be really interested to see how they set that one.
Yeah, that'll be a hole I recommend that you don't have honors on. Because thankfully you went first that hole.
Yeah.
We learned a little bit, as to what to do. But as you go through the grant side, you go from 3, which is, I think a very hard par 3, regardless of number, to a super difficult par 4.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Yeah, 4 grand's a monster.
Yeah, that's a monster. And that's like, you want to talk about a bear. Like, obviously that thing can stretch out to like 450, so we're talking some big numbers. But I don't know if it's the drive that's intimidating as it is that second shot. Because you're literally kind of going uphill. If you don't hit it far enough to the left side of the fairway, you're dealing with the whole mound on the right side. And it's kind of like, where am I going?
Right, you can't see the flag.
And you're probably, maybe these guys are hitting 6 or 7 or 8 irons, maybe some, but you're kind of like a mid to long iron into that green. It's not is you better get it up in the air.
Yeah, depending on how they set the tees, right? So we played the all the way back tee today to give you guys a good feel for what it is. There may be the option for them to push it up one,
Right.
And then some of the guys in the field are going to have to decide whether or not they're going to have to hit driver out to the corner or hit 3-wood out to the corner. But the problem is you've got a short porch out there too, right? So if you go through the dog leg, you've got water out there. So you really have to know your long game numbers as well. You have to know, like, do I have a bunt driver that can stay in that 260 range? Because if you hit it 285 or 300 from the forward tee, right? Like today, right? We were playing all the way back and we were into the fan, and we both hit pretty good drives, and it took everything. I could barely see the front left edge of the green.
For me, I hit a very good drive. I still had 189 into the green, uphill into the wind, and I can't hit it any better.
And not far enough left where you were blocked out by
right.
that big mound that's there, so you can't. Now you're picking your target based on, like, okay, I stood over there, I got that bush there, I walk over, I think it's that bush, but I'm not 100% sure.
If I remember correctly, when we designed it and when Dana did it, the center of that dog leg was set at 320. The idea was, we always joke that that's the Rory McIlroy tee. If you can hit it 310 or 320, then yeah, you can get all the way to the center of the dog leg and look straight up the hill. But it's a boat, and especially into that breeze today.
I'll say it may be downwind from that back tee. You might be able to get a few more yards of roll out, but if that's dead into you, you're back there. It's like you make a par there. It's like getting one on the field, no doubt about it. Because then you go into the par 5. The fifth hole to me is like that's kind of a gettable hole. Like I look at 5 as if I'm trying to pick and choose a spot on this grand side. Like where can I get one? Where can I take a deep breath and say I got a chance? Like 5, I think offers you that because there's room to kind of spray the drive a little bit, But that third shot will still give you an opportunity. The way the green slopes, the way there's some back, some backstop. Thank you very much in the green. Like you got a chance at 5.
Yeah, completely agree. What I love about 5 is from the tee, it welcomes either shape, right? You're a drawer of the golf ball. We saw it today. You can take it off of that right bunker and draw it off. Or if you're a fader of the golf ball, you've got tons of room to start that ball down the left-hand side. And what's great is the fun part is the landing area for these guys is going to be just on the back side of that set of bunkers. And that back side of those bunkers is just a little bit of a speed slot. So if they can hit one that gets chasing down in there, from the back tees, again, depending on the wind, you're probably looking at 230. If they go one up, if they go to a blue tee setup or anything like that during the match play matches, like you're looking at a 220, 230 shot. But again, that green sticks out there on a little peninsula. So you have to, again, how much do you need to challenge and how much do you need to press? If you're a couple shots back, okay, maybe you press a little bit. If you're not, you got to protect it.
Right. And that's, I think, it brings in nerves both ways. Because if you're trying to press and it's like, okay, I'm down 2 and we got 4 holes to play or whatever it is, 5 holes to play now. It's like, okay, I gotta start pressing the issue a little bit. And then the other way is like, I just need to hang on, but I still need to execute this good golf shot. Because rather than maybe I don't take driver and I go 3-wood and then something long to lay up, and I'm just gonna. But it's still the pressure to execute those shots.
And most people look past how the approach is designed in that hole too, right? That you're going out into a peninsula green that slopes off into water, and the approach of that is all downhill from the last 80 or 100 yards. It's all downhill, so you can get something running that can run up to the front, but if it picks up too much speed, you're wet. The other thing that does is that makes your little wedge shot just a little more testy. When you're standing over an 80 or 100-yard wedge, looking at that green, most people over a 100-yard wedge at this level are going to be licking their chops. Right? Listen, it gets your attention.
It does. So I mean, certainly welcome to just top it 120 yards and it'll roll right onto the green. Either one of those will work.
Is that the first-hand experience?
I saw it out there.
I don't think it was from one of us, but and then you get to 6. I mean, listen, I don't know, maybe if the grand side has just stood out more in my mind, but then 6 is another great part. It's another great part of the green that could be many different numbers as well. With the water in play, a very, very tough green. Talk a little bit about 6.
I love 6. I think 6 Grant is a really, again, interesting. If you were to overlay 7 Sherman and 6 Grant from above, they would actually look very similar. They would resemble each other a lot. But because of the way 6 Grant kind of sits down a little bit, right?
Yeah.
It sits down low to the water, low under the tree line. Like, you don't get the feel of the breeze back there. You don't quite know what the wind's doing. And if they tuck that pin, which I would guess they're going to go back right with that pin. That is a really unique par 3 that challenges you, again, someone who draws the ball, somebody who cuts the ball, right? Challenges the draw player to start it out over the wall, to challenge that bunker and bring it in from the left, which is a scary thought for a lot of people. I take a really similar strategy on 6 Grant that I do on 7 Sherman. I kind of look at that first third of the green and go, okay, what's the wind doing? I mean, you hit a fantastic shot there.
I did, yeah.
It's one of those.
There's one to
that. Again, it's like, how aggressive, how confident are you? The worst thing you can do on 6 Grant is step up and make a swing that you're not confident in. Right. Yeah. So, like, whatever it is, whatever you choose, just pick it and commit.
Yeah. Commit to the shot, the club, the shot shape, because it is daunting. There's water all around, and it's not, the bailout left like we said on Saturday.
There are bad thoughts everywhere standing there, and it looks really simple, right? It looks like a very straightforward par 3, but it kind of has that little bit of a turtle back, and like I've hit many a shots that have been turning a little right to left in there that hit that back left side of the green and go bounding over the back into the water. So
yeah, that hole, I mean, it is a very, very challenging hole. I think if they were to put that pin back right, you'd have to move the tees up a little bit in some aspects, because I think if you're flying in there with a 5-6 iron, that's going to be a little harder. But I do think that would be really neat to put in that back right corner. But then those last 3 holes, as you come down the stretch here, like 16, 17, 18, like, you better have your big boy everything on for these, because I'm not even joking when I say, like, in theory, number 16 on your day could be 495 from the black tees. Oh, yeah, that's a par 4. Then we're going to go to 17. It's a 486. Yeah, par 4 still. And then we're going 455, par 4 to wrap this thing up. Like, those last 3 holes, dude, is like golfing, and then golfing again. Like, talk about that stretch to wrap that 9 up.
Yeah, usually after I play that stretch of holes, I need a nap. It's
or a good drink. Or a good drink.
We don't step back. Even myself and all our golf pros, like, we don't step back to the black tees very often back there. Like, it's just you don't. We joke you don't want the smoke, right? It's just you've got to 7 Grant. You've got this big iconic tree out there, and again, like, for you, it sets up really nice for a draw where and it turns a little bit left. But you hit a great drive there, and you're still talking 190 to a green that sits on a sharp angle over a bunker that's got a spine in the middle of it. And just finding a place to get the ball to land up there and stop. I mean, I hit what I thought was a pretty good 5-iron, landed on the back edge, went down the hill into the rough. From there, hey, there's a quick 6 out of nowhere. And then obviously 8. It's funny, 8 Grant, what used to be 8 West of the old Sand Barrens. 8 was my favorite hole of the original golf course. So when I stand up there, you can kind of still see some of the old bones of it, and it's pretty cool. But I love the green complex. We talked about indirect access, right? Pretty straightforward driving ball, right? You got 2 bunkers that kind of pinch in right in the landing area a little bit. We talked a little bit about it, that some of the younger hitters might lay back with 3-wood or a utility iron or hybrid, and leaving themselves a middle iron in. Depending, again, where they put the pin, what they do with that pin, you're going to have you either have the pin on the right shelf, or it's going to be in the back left. This is a perfect opportunity to really, if you can get to know the golf course, or you can be smart about how you select your shot, right? How do you access that pin, depending on where it is? It might not be in a direct line. It might not be in a straight line. It's going to be landing 20 yards short and taking a 90-degree turn left to that back pin.
Letting the contours of the green take the ball there.
Exactly. So using the ground game here is critically important, and especially if our superintendents get to set the golf course up, firmness-wise, the way they'd like, and what I think they're expecting. I think that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot of ground game out here being important.
Yeah, then you get on 9s too, or I should say the 18th hole. or the 9th hole of the Grand Side. And again, it mirrors to me like what you saw in Sherman's 9th hole as well. It's like there's nothing that like stands out as like this awe or this amazing thing, but it's just like aesthetically just like a very pleasing look from tee to green. Again, no easy finishing hole right there either to kind of end your round here, because 16 is not easy, 17 is not easy, and then you're like, all right, maybe I can take a breath on 18, and you just simply can't.
No, again, it's about where they put that tee, right? If they choose the combo tee that we played today, we were playing up on the blue tee a little bit. And again, the right way, you get the right wind direction. So you get that land breeze. Like, yeah, you're going to play downwind, and like we hit wedges in today. But you get the ocean breeze, and all of a sudden you're hitting 500. So again, I think very welcoming driving hole. Like that hole particularly fits my eye because I like to look at that little waist bunker up the left and just let something peel off of it. But I'll tell you what, if you've got somebody who's got a little case of the lefts going, or they like to snap it every once in a while, that waist bunker on the left is, that's double bogey. That's double bogey immediately. So it's really, again, it's a great driver's hole. Like if you're confident with the driver, like step up there and let it rip. But if you're more of a 3-wood, little conservative off the tee, and that's what you're feeling like that day, then yeah, you can still get 7-iron or 6-iron into the center of that green. It's a huge putting surface. So again, it goes back to where's the flag too.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing for a lot of the guys that are playing is to get that pin sheet and see where things are, and then kind of map your way out that way. And I know talking to a lot of the guys, like that's kind of how they operate. Guys like Ryan and I just get on the tee box and just whack and see. Let's hope it's a good spot. But these guys are a lot smarter and a lot better, so that's kind of a good approach for a lot of them to take. So they do.
Yeah, I would say that out here it's really prevalent to talk about front pin versus back pin, right? Like for me, strategically, typically if I see a back pin, I'm way more aggressive, right? I'll hit the driver all the way up and try to get a little 80-yard or 100-yard wedge in, or I'll, if it's on the par 5, I'll try to go send it up there as far as I can and hit a little flip wedge if I've got a back pin. But if I've got a forward pin, I'm laying back. I'm hitting full shots into those spaces, and into those front pin locations.
Yeah.
So knowing your game is going to be important too. Which of those you like is obviously going to be, or which you're hitting well this time of year.
Which fortunately, these guys in this field are going to know their game better than anybody else. So.
Yeah.
No slouches.
We always joke around but the mid-am game is a loaded field. I think they can all pretty much golf their golf ball, and the names coming down here are all good ones. And, I guess if I had to ask you, like, what do you see someone putting up in the stroke play round? Obviously, Tuesday, June 4th is they got to be in the top 16 to make it to match play starting the next day. And then from there, it's, match play on. And I know match play can be, as you and I talked about, very different. You're approaching the whole thing different. But I think the stroke play aspect has me the most curious to see, like, when these guys come and play and it's ball and hole and everything matters, like, what do you see someone in terms of, like, potentially being the medalist?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Again, it's going to come down a lot to wind condition, the firmness of the golf course. Do we get any rain between now and then, or can we control the water? Right? If our superintendents have the ability to control the water, this place is going to be firm and fast. And we talked about course setup and how we have to be very careful. We have to be very cognizant about how fast the greens get, because there is a lot of movement. And we have to be aware of that. So I think depending on the conditions, I think where I would be pleased would see somebody to medal in the stroke play round at 69, 68. I don't listen. Golf's supposed to be fun too.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody coming out of here feeling beat up. But at the same time, I do want to see how it holds up. I get questions all the time. Hey, can Union League National host an event? Well, this is going to be our first opportunity to find out. So
yeah.
I'm very excited to see what the winning score is. I do listen. There are birdies to be had, but there are doubles to be had too.
Understand. There's no doubt about it. And I think to your point, I think when you and I were talking, I think if you were to ask me to take a guess on the stroke play medalist, I'd say 68. So I think knowing the field and seeing what some of them can do, that'd be my guess. But then again, listen, I wouldn't be surprised if no one breaks them, because I think, to your point, the greens, as I've probably said on many, many different podcast series, the greens at this spot, as well as a lot of other, are the defense in this place. you have the opportunity at times to spray the ball, which we did today, and still have a shot or still find a way to get the ball back into play to make your park. But those greens, to your point many, many times today, is like if you don't know where to hit the ball and have the ball land or stop, good luck. Good luck.
Yeah, it's again, it's can you manage the first bounce, right? And that's where obviously we talk about Meade a lot. Like Meade's very much like that, and then there are a handful of holes on the Sherman and Grant side that you really have to just control the first bounce. And it's not just about where does it land, but what's the trajectory of the shot when it's coming down. It's what is it forward. So it's like it is. If your game is detailed, you can score here, but you have to know your details and execute.
Well, listen, I think everybody that comes down here is in full on treat. I think just like a lot of people are nowadays, like the social media about this place, I think will be buzzing. I think everybody's going to leave here like, wow, that is what they've done to this spot is truly, truly special. I think if someone had something bad to say, I think at the end of the day, it's a you problem because you're in this small minority of anybody to say something bad about this spot.
Down there.
So, but listen, I can't thank you enough for having us come down here, experience this place, play with you. This whole day has been something that Ryan and I are truly thankful for. So, thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Really, thanks so much. This was incredible. Yeah, I said to Mike, I was like, I don't know how to describe it. I feel like a kid in a candy store. It is special. We've used the word 100 times. It's a special place. What you guys have done with it, the course itself, the whole thing has been special.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys coming down. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. And we're looking forward to seeing what happens just as much as you are.
Yeah.
And congratulations on all you guys did.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. Thank you.